Our candidate is Advocate Paladi. And good afternoon to yourself, ma'am. In front of you, we have a mic that you can press to speak and press to mute yourself. May I remind members of the media that this session, the rules still apply for this session, and you are requested not to broadcast the live proceedings. You may record the proceedings but not broadcast until the end of our session. Thank you. Advocate Paladi, I must start by introducing myself. My name is Nolita Ndungane. I'm the chairperson of this panel. I have with me members of the panel on my right-hand side. I'll start with Honorable Meko, and then in his absence, as he enters, is Honorable Khwabane, and then it's Honorable Sikwebela, Honorable Khaurekwi. At the back, from the right, is Honorable Klute, and then it's Honorable Van Vieren, and we have Honorable Pretorius, and we have Honorable Foku. We also have administrative staff from the institution. We are also joined by our legal expert. You are welcome, Advocate Paladi. Just to explain, there's a bottle of water in front of you should you need, should you feel dehydrated at any point. And the purpose of this interview is to get to know a little bit more about yourself and your understanding of this position of a public service commissioner, as was advertised. Your interview, in terms of time allocation, will be 45 minutes. Within those 45 minutes, each member will ask you a question or two, and you would have 3 minutes to respond to each question. At the end of the session, you will be afforded an opportunity to ask the panel any questions of clarity that you may have. I think then on that note, we would start by giving you an allocated time of 15 minutes to present to this panel on the roles and responsibilities and understanding of the position of a public service commissioner. And subsequent to that, when your 15 minutes is up, we would then open the floor to the panel to resume with their questions. So I'll allow you your 15 minutes for the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. As indicated, my name is Advocate Magwena Jupiter Nomonde Paladi, and the presentation is as follows. The powers and functions of the Public Service Commission. The Public Service Commission, PSC, is an independent institution established in terms of Chapter 10 of the Constitution with specific focus on the public service and is vested with custodial oversight responsibilities for the public service. The PSC derives its mandate from Section 195 and 196 of the Constitution. In terms of the Constitution, the PSC is independent, impartial, and no organ of state may interfere with its functioning. The PSC must exercise its powers and perform its functions without fear, favor, or prejudice. The PSC has the powers to investigate, monitor, and evaluate the organization, administration, and personnel practices of the public service. The PSC must give directions at ensuring that personnel procedures relating to recruitment, transfer, promotion, and dismissal comply with the values and principles set out in Section 195 of the Constitution. The PSC may investigate grievances of employees in the public service and recommend appropriate remedies. The PSC must report its activities and performance of its functions once a year to the National Assembly and the provincial legislature. The PSC is accountable to the National Assembly. The PSC, in the performance of its functions and execution of its powers, must promote the values and principles set out in Section 195 of the public service, which entails the promotion and maintenance of high standard of professional ethics in the public service, efficient, economic, and effective use of resources, public service that is development orientated, public service that is accountable, public service that is transparent by providing the public with timely, accessible, and accurate information, public service that responds to the public needs and encourages the public to participate in policy making, provision of services impartially, fairly, equitably, and without bias, provision of good human resource management and career development practices, and public administration that is broadly representative of the South African people and the need to redress the imbalances of the past to achieve a broad representation. Now, coming to ways of optimizing the performance of the PSC, it will be optimized by creating greater coordination and collaboration between the PSC and its role players or stakeholders through strategic partnership, increasing visibility of the PSC to the media and its stakeholders, having a healthy and a cordial relationship with the legislature, assisting the legislature in performing its oversight role by presenting the PSC reports in respect of its activities in the province and reporting non-implementation of directives by the HODs and or MECs, continuous review of the PSC's performance, targeted training and development of employees, capacitation of the research unit in terms of human and other resources, upgrading of the ICT system and security, automation of the business processes and review of the standard operating procedures, improvement on the turnaround time of investigations, review of the organizational structure to ensure that it is ready to implement the reinforced mandate to local government and the SOEs, effective monitoring of the implementation of the national framework for professionalization of the public sector, monitoring the implementation of the PSC's finding, advice, and directives, ensuring that we comply with the values and principles set in the Constitution when performing our functions, embarking on workshops, training, and roundtable discussions with department in relation to our functions and responsibilities, performing our functions without fear, favor, or prejudice, continuous monitoring and evaluation of the service delivery projects aimed at unlocking bottlenecks, fostering transparency with the public by providing the public with timely, accessible, and accurate information, ensuring that departments submit accurate data and performing quality assurance on the submitted data, conducting ethics workshops internally and externally to inculcate a high ethical culture. In conclusion, the review of the Public Service Commission Act will reposition the PSC to ensure that it achieve a development-orientated public service and able to reinforce the PSC mandate in terms of local government and public entities. The establishment of the PSC as a secretariat will ensure that it executes its mandate fully as an independent and impartial constitutional entity, shifting from being a department under the Public Service Act. Independent budget will also confirm the independency of the PSC. Through the Citizen Forum programs, the PSC will effectively engage the ordinary citizens on the resolution of service delivery complaints, thereby minimizing violent protest actions and holding government accountable for their inefficiencies. The PSC must review the Whistleblowers Protection to ensure greater effectiveness of the Whistleblowers Act and its policies. The State Capture Report unearthed evidence of state capture and corruption in the public service. It revealed numerous governance and ethical failures in the public service. The report highlighted poor record of the oversight bodies, including the PSC. The national framework towards professionalization of the public service is seen as a game changer in the public service. The PSC will use it to promote and maintain effective and efficient public administration and a high standard of professional ethics in the public service, as well as the ability of the state to address poverty, inequality, and unemployment. That's the end of my presentation. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Advocate Paladi. Now I will then open the floor to the panel for questions. I will start with the Honorable Thabo Meko.
Speaker, thank you. Let's welcome the presentation by Advocate Paladi. You said yourself that the task of that one of the requirements is to optimize the work of the PSC. Now, we want to understand, so that there are linkages. I know you've been in the public service for long at the provincial level, and I think you also spend considerable time in local government. Your own development as a person, from primary, secondary school, to the work that we have done in provincial government, including municipalities. How do you think that will empower you as a person to be able to achieve the objectives you said, or the task of the PSC? The lessons learned through your experiences, the weaknesses of the governance as a whole, and your character as a person, and the knowledge, of course, gained through these many years of service. How will they help you to help the Public Service Commission in order to optimize its work? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Megwa. As you have indicated, I have a grade 12, I have a BURIS, I have an LLB and an LLM. I started working in the NPA as a prosecutor in the district and regional court, and moved to the High Court as a state advocate. Now, being in that realm, it gave me the experience of guiding investigating officers in terms of investigating crimes that are committed. And also, it also enhanced my experience in terms of the evidence that is needed in order to prove the offense, and the witnesses that must be called in, and the kind of evidence that we need from them, and also report writing, because in the NPA, sometimes there are decision dockets that are given to us to take a decision whether to prosecute or not. When you take that decision, you write a report to the DPP, the Director of Public Prosecution in the Free State, advising and making recommendation as to whether they should prosecute or not. So in that realm, I've earned experience of applying the law, interpreting it, and also gaining experience on the evidence. I moved to the Department of Justice to become a family advocate. A family advocate is a person, independent person, who assists the High Court judge in divorce cases relating to custody and access of minor children. In that realm also, we do an investigation. We call both parties, we inquire from them, take facts, look at the law, apply the law to the facts, write the report to the judge with recommendations as to who should have custody. Then I moved to the Office of the Premier in 2007. I became a state law advisor and a senior state law advisor. In that realm, I was responsible for legislative drafting for the whole of the Free State Provincial Government, the interpretation of legislation, drafting policies for them, providing legal opinions. So I gained that experience, and also sometimes we were called to conduct investigations into misconduct of officials, and also called to be prosecutors or presiding officers in disciplinary hearings. Then I moved to Human Settlements as a Director for Legal Services, and after I moved to Kokta as the Chief Director for Corporate Services, and to Mangaung as the HOD for Human Settlements. Now, as an SMS member, I gained the experience of providing strategic direction and vision to the unit that I was managing. I was able to develop and manage them, and also to ensure that I put in place measures to ensure that the unit performs efficiently. And also I was responsible for management of the performance management of the employees, and managing the limited available resources in terms of the budget.
Your time is up for that particular question.
Okay.
I will now recognize Honorable Van Vuuren.
Thank you, Chair. Advocate, you referred to the professionalism in your presentation. Now, can you perhaps give us some examples of your ability to attract, develop and retain talent, and how you will use this to ensure that the Free State Provincial Government rebuilds its trust in the professionalization of government services. If you can maybe just address that for us. Thank you.
As the PAC, we are responsible for advising, recommending and giving directions to the public administration in terms of personnel procedures, which includes your recruitment, selection, promotion, dismissals and transfers. So now we should provide guidelines to the departments in terms of the minimum requirements for senior managers post, and also lower posts, the minimum the qualifications that are needed, and also the core competencies that are needed for that post. So we should give directions to the departments that they must implement, and we must also have workshops and roundtable to assist them in implementing them, and assist also in the development of their recruitment and selection policies to ensure that they comply. We must also strengthen the pre-entry requirement, as it is now a requirement in government as a senior manager and a manager that you should have a pre-entry certificate of Nugela to ensure that you have an understanding of how government works. And when candidates are shortlisted, they should also do a technical exercise like I did, relating to the core function of the post that they are applied for, to show their insight into that post. And when the people are recommended for appointment, they must also be sent for competency assessment. Competency assessment assesses your emotional intelligence, your psychological level, your financial and your leadership skills. And it also shows how you know government works in terms of the running of and the political interview. How will you handle that? Are you mentally, your mental capabilities able to withstand pressure of the politicians? And also in terms of the senior managers, there must be continuous training and targeted training and development to ensure that we have career incidents and progression, that we have a pool of senior managers that we can pull for whenever we need people for posts like your HODs and DGs. Now, that can only be done working together with the PSC in developing the directions that the departments must follow to ensure that we have a capable and a competent public service. Now, with the professionalization, it is a game changer. Its aim is now to make sure that competent and qualified people are hired to higher positions of authority, to ensure that we have a transformed, a professional and an ethical public service. And it also have made milestones into the policy change for the appointments of the HODs and the DGs by saying that whenever there is a post to be advertised, the PSC must be contacted. It must create a database of technical expertise that will sit together with the councils and the selection committees to ensure that there is someone who has expertise on that panel to advise when questions are put to the candidate. And also for the performance management of the HODs and the DGs, the PSC now will sit together with the MEC.
Thank you, Advocate. Your time is up for that question. Let me now recognize the Honorable Kluter.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Advocate. What, according to you, are the biggest challenges in the public sector today? And as Commissioner, how would you address those issues?
The biggest problem now in public service, there is a high number of unethical behavior, fraud and corruption. Like I've indicated in my presentation, that the Zondo Commission has unearthed these trends, which now has made the public to lose confidence in especially the watchdogs that are created by legislation to watch for corruption and fraud. Now, what I will do in terms of fraud and corruption, there must be a political will to deal with it. In having a political will, the political head must lead by example. If he says it's ethical, the officials under him, they must see that ethical behavior, the accountability and the transparency. And there must be active citizenry. There must be transparency in terms of the access to information, and the citizens must also be encouraged to participate in policy making and legislative drafting so that their views are also included in the end result of the product. And we must also have your workshops, roundtable discussions with government as to how this corruption can be kept, what should be done. The senior managers must submit their financial disclosure forms. The bid committee members must sign the code of conduct, and they must also disclose if they have interest. And also, government officials that are doing business outside of government or with government, they must disclose. There must be an ethics committee that deals with requests to do business of public servants. That way we will be able to see if there will be a conflict of interest or there is potential of fraud. And also we must enhance our procurement processes to make it, to give it more integrity, transparency, so that people can start to have confidence in it, because it is one area that is prone to fraud and corruption. And we must also develop effective risk management in areas that are prone to fraud and corruption. Like I've indicated, it's your SCM processes, your financial service, your financial management services, also your personnel practices. We know these days when someone is hired, you must have a connection. There's nepotism, there's favoritism. And we must also ensure that our whistleblowing policy is effective. It must be implemented. There are whistleblowers who have been killed, which means that the measures of protections that are given to whistleblowers is not enough. Now, as a result, people fear to come forward and now announce if there is fraud or corruption in the unit because they are afraid of being targeted. So those are some of the things that should be done, but working together between the departments and the PSC in developing the directions and making sure that they are adhered to. How do we make sure that they are adhered to? There will be follow-up continuous processes. Through our grievances also is one way that we can pick up if there is fraud or corruption. Now, you must make sure that the department...
Thank you, Advocate. Time is up for that question. I would now allow Honorable Pretorius. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you, Ms. Paladi. Ms. Paladi, I see in your CV that you note that you were the HOD for Human Settlements in the Mangaung Metropolitan Municipality, and that you also then they state that you were responsible for the alignment with the municipality's housing plan and targets, and to oversee the management and implementation of the rental housing program of lower income units, and to make sure that the council buildings are managed according to policy and procedure. Now, I think we all know that the Brandbach social housing units here in Bloemfontein is shambles, and those buildings have been hijacked. Can you tell us, as the HOD, well, as the then HOD, what went wrong with that housing project, and what attempts were made by yourself to turn around that housing crisis?
Okay, thank you. The Brandbach Social Housing Unit, it was meant for people who are earning 3,501 rand to 22,000. Now, when they were still falling under Mangaung, we used to call them the white flats. Everyone and anyone was accommodated there. In terms of the policy of social housing, you must be earning within this bracket, and you must not have been owning any property. You must be a first-time owner, because the potential of you being in that unit, there is at the end what we call rent to buy. After 10 years staying in those flats, you can now enter into rent to buy that flat, you own it. Now, the biggest problem was when those flats were revamped, the new laws that says who should stay there, the main culprit were the people who were earning above the bracket. There were people who were government employees, municipal officials. Some of the people were subletting those flats. They had their own houses, but subletting. So it was fraud, corruption, nepotism, favoritism. So because government spent money there, we called in SHRA, the Social Housing Regulatory Authority, which is a national entity falling under human settlements, to assist us. They appointed an administrator. They were managed by Freshco Provincial. It was our SHRA in the Free State. So they liquidated Freshco and they appointed an administrator. They frustrated the administrator, the people who were working with Freshco. They did not give the books as to who was paying, was not paying, why were things not, why was maintenance not being done. So as a result, there was a push also from the people who were staying there, because in terms of the law, they did not qualify to stay there. If you still remember, there was one stage where it was raining. We did an application at the High Court to evict people who were not allowed to be there. Then it was a halabaloo because it was raining. Unfortunately, the day that the sheriff was meant to now execute the order, it was raining. So it was said that Mangaung did not have a heart. Why do we now have to evict people when it's raining? But we did not evict anyone. We went back to the drawing board and asked them to give us their representatives so that we can assist in revitalizing those flats. Because now if you go there, they were refurbished. We have to start from scratch again. So the only way that that problem can be solved is SRA working together with Mangaung and the provincial government, so that the first step is to get the illegal occupants must go out, so that we revamp, and the ones that are qualified, they can now take occupancy of those flats. But if there is no political will, because it was also found that some of the politicians' children were staying there, so that's why there was a pullback. So, but if there is no political will to do that, it will never come right. We need that political will to assist to refurbish those flats.
Thank you so much, Madam. Over to Honorable Khwaban.
Thank you, Jupiter. Considering the audit outcomes of the PSC for 2023, what would be your 100-day plan? Maybe picking into 3 to 5 key priorities. And in relation to the issues of financial management. The second question would then be what would be your 3-year plan to set the things right in the office of the PSC?
Okay, there must be leadership stability. There are a lot of vacancies. And now with the repositioning and the amending and the repealing of the Public Service Commission Act, giving them more powers and extending those powers to the SOEs and local government, it means we need more capacity. And remember, most of the work that we are doing is research related. So there must be stability in terms of filling the vacant posts, and also ensuring that we enhance the research unit by giving it the human bodies and also the necessary financial resources and whatever they will need. And since that we have moved into the 4th Industrial Revolution, our ICT needs to be revamped and modernized to ensure that the automated systems that we are going to implement, especially on the HR side, go leave policies that will now be automated. We no longer have to do it on paper and submit it to HR. So there is a need to revamp. So we must pump more money into that. And also in terms of the governance, as I've indicated that there is an extension of their powers to the local government, we also need to have a rapid response unit that will ensure that we deal quickly with the requests that we get, so that our turnaround time changes. Because in terms of the audit, there's also an outcry in terms of our turnaround time when we resolve, especially the grievances. And also we must move away from the audit mindset performance into the impact mindset performance. What I mean by that, it means PSC has been looking at, okay, Human Settlement is going to build 100 houses in Mangaung. They want to see those 100 houses. They don't look at the quality. The houses might be there, but the quality is in shambles. And also you must ensure that the services that government provides, they make an impact into the lives of the people on the street. And there must also be a reorganization within the unit, which means the structure that is there currently needs to be reviewed to bring it in line with the repositioning of the PSC. Now, on the public finance management, we need to ensure that we comply with the financial management legislative framework that is there, which is your PFMA, the Constitution, the PFA, and also ensure that we implement the financial management policies, the directives provided by National Treasury and Provincial Treasury whenever they are provided, and also ensure that our supply chain is effective and efficient. And there are internal control measures that must be applied by everyone. And the budget trade-offs, because we know there's limited budget, there must be budget trade-offs. And whenever there is reprioritization and budget trade-offs, they must be discussed with the line managers so that each unit, their priorities are taken care of. And coming to the request for budget from the line managers, I must interrogate them to ensure that the limited available resources that are there are effectively and efficiently spread across the organizational priorities and the reprioritization.
Thank you so much. Ma'am, we then move to Honorable Khaurekwe.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. Let me also welcome the presentation made by Advocate Paladi. Advocate, how would you manage the issue of risk? How would you constitute your executive management? With what mandate or charter? Meeting frequently and meeting norms. Yes, ma'am. Can I repeat it? Yes. Okay. The question is, how would you manage the issue of risk? And then how would you constitute your executive management? With what mandate or charter? Meeting frequency and meeting norms.
Thank you. There is what we call enterprise risk management, which says that risk within an organization must be done holistically. It must not be done in isolation. Now, in risk management, you must first identify the risk, whether it's coming internally or externally, and the impact that will have to an organization. And you must assess the impact of the risk. When assessing the risk, you look at the likelihood of the risk occurring and the impact it will have. After assessing the risk, you mitigate it. When you mitigate the risk, you come up with factors that will ensure that the risk, even if it comes, it might be minimized. So it's either you accept, you reject, you share the risk. Now, risk management within an organization is very important. It's like your internal audit. So that's why risk management stays in the office of the accounting officer, because it then advises the accounting officer whenever there are red flags, it will now tell the accounting officer to say red flags are coming, attend to them. So each head of a unit must be a member of the risk management committee. The risk management committee members, it's comprised of the executive members plus internal, the chairperson, or one or two people must be from external that will advise us. But it's mainly made of the executive of the organization that will manage their own risk. And risk management, it says we must also appoint what we call a risk champion in each unit. That will ensure that they sit monthly, ensure that the risk that they have identified and the levels of impact, remember it's low, medium, high, are we still on high or medium? If we're still on high, what is it that we are not doing right so that it can be maintained? Now, they meet monthly as a unit, then those reports, they must find their way into the executive management meeting, which must be a standing item on our agenda to see how we are managing our risk. Are we winning or are we losing? If we are losing, then it means we need outside help. So that's how often our meetings will meet. It will be standing items in our agenda. Each executive manager will be member of the risk committee, and they will report their risk to executive management meetings on the monthly meetings so that we ensure we manage risk. Remember, we'll have your strategic and you have your unit risk. Your strategic risk are the one that is for the whole of the PSC. Then the management risk are the one that falls under your unit. So both of them, they must be managed unilaterally and at the same time to ensure that we combat risk ensuing in the department, in the organization.
Thank you so much. Honorable Foko.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Advocate Paladi. Can you please tell us, will you make any changes to the key corporate processes, such as budgeting, planning, risk reviews, or businesses reviews, and why? Thank you.
Okay, I've indicated that the PSC, in terms of their new mandate, when the new act is approved, is being extended. With that extension, it means now more work for us. And also with the fourth industrial revolution, we must now revamp and modernize our ICT infrastructure and ensure that the security thereof is protected. Now, it means more money must be forwarded towards your human capital, like I've indicated also the research unit, because they are the ones behind the scenes doing all the researches that will now inform our directives, findings or recommendations to the MECs and the HODs in terms of the personal practices that we would have investigated. So more money must be sent to human bodies research and the ICT, and also the automation of our business processes, the standing operating procedures. How we do things, it must be automated because it makes it more faster, accessible, and also in terms of the memory of the institution. When someone leaves the institution, they leave with boxes and no one stops them and say, what's in your box? So if they say our systems and whatever we do is automated, everything will be on our hard drives. So sometimes when an official leaves, who has been there for 20 years, they leave with the information. But if we can invest more on the automation, then we can ensure, we are definitely sure that we have the information. The other thing is that in terms of citizenry participation on our strategic partnership, we must also ensure that the citizens are on board as to what we are doing. Our visibility is not enough as the PSC. So we need to have a strategic partnership with the media and also make sure that we inform the public, seeing that they also have a right to report to us whenever there are issues of service delivery. We need, like I said, we need to move away from the audit mindset into the impact mindset. For us to do that, it means we must do the site visit and see as to what services has been offered or is being offered. Is it up to par in terms of the specifications? So those are some of the changes that I will do into the unit, and also the rapid response unit that will ensure that the complaints that we receive and the requests for investigations are dealt with quickly, because there is a backlog currently. So with the rapid response, it will assist us to ensure that we finalize those cases quickly. And doing that, people start to have more confidence on you, because they know once things are referred to you and your standard operating procedure says within 30 days, it must have been resolved, it must have been resolved. Only if there are other issues that we cannot finish that investigation within 30 days, we must inform the complainant to say, because of 1, 2, 3, we cannot finish this investigation, but we request this enough time to complete our investigations. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And our last member, Honorable Skobela.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Advocate Paladi. I almost thought that this position is only for 60 plus. Since we've started this morning, we've been interviewing 60 plus people. So I'm very advocate that you are not at 60 plus in terms of age. But however, I want to, I only have 2 questions. The first one is to say, I've went through your CV. The call for the advert was on the closing date was on the 15th of April, right? And you have when I go through your references or your CV, one of your references, you are still mentioning Mr. Duma as the HOD of corporate governance, and it's Kokta. So I'm trying to understand, is it a matter of you did not update your CV, or is it a matter of an oversight, or what really happened, or you don't update a CV when you apply? Because currently now, I think now is it in the Mangaung municipality. The second question would be, in your own opinion, who do you think are the key stakeholders in the office of PSC?
Okay, it was an oversight on that one, because if you check, I updated it in terms of working. I'm now working at a private law firm, so I updated that. So it was an oversight. Sorry for that. Then the second question, you were saying, what are the main key stakeholders? It will be the department, the DPSA, the the Department on Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, the National Planning Commission, and other democratic organizations that supports the principles and values in the public service. And also it would be your departments, national, provincial, and also now with the new act coming, it will be your local government and SOEs, and your main one being the citizen, the public, who have an interest in what we do. So those will be our stakeholders.
Thank you, honorable members, and thank you. Okay, there is one more, Honorable Van Vuren, I'll allow you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Yeah, sorry, just a follow-up. It refers to the question that Honorable Pretorius asked. You said that, and I think it's one of the attributes that the position that you're applying for should have is that you will withstand political interference and you will protect the public service from that. But you just said that you knew that there was political figures, children staying at that hostels, or that, the Witwoonstel as it was called. But I mean, what did you do? Did you report them? You talk about corruption taking place. Who did you report? How many people were found guilty? Because I mean, it was 5 years that you were there. And you were the accounting officer. It's all well and fine to say I'm using external methods, the law and institutions to come and do the work that the department should do. But I mean, what have you done in the 5 years? Because this is crucial to this position that you're going to hold now. Because you're going to hold people accountable for decisions taken in the public sector. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, when there was the outcry started with those flats, we did an investigation as human settlement through the mixed development unit. The report was provided to the then city manager and my MMC. It never reached council, that report, but we did provide the report as to the people who were staying there and who were not supposed to be, and the recommendations that should have been taken, but it never reached council. Remember, I don't have the authority to force a council item. It must be my MMC together with the executive mayor and the city manager who agree on the agenda of council, but I did report it.
Thank you, Advocate. Thank you, honorable members. This brings us to the end of the interviews, but we would also allow the candidate to ask any questions of clarity that she would seek. Over to you, Advocate Paladi.
Okay, no, I don't have any questions, thanks.
Okay, she's covered. Let me thank you for honoring the interview and also just perhaps notify you, I don't know if it was communicated to you, but in terms of your claims for travelings, you can meet with Ntatema Shumi. Okay, no, that's fine. But one more question from my side. Your contact details, have they changed or are they still the same since you submitted your CV?
Yes, they are still the same.
Everything is still the same. Then let me thank you for your time and wish you a happy, safe, and secure Women's Month. Thank you. Honorable members, we will then adjourn. Our next candidate, we'll just check if they've arrived, but their interview starts at 3 o'clock. We are now at 14:45. So if they are here, we will resume at 10 to. So let's just check. We'll resume at 10 to if they are here. If they're not here, then we will start again at 3 o'clock. Thank you, honorable members. Honorable members, then let's agree to resume at 10 to 3. It's now quarter to. Thank you.